Today, Phillip Ullmann joins William and Richard, co-founders of the Swan Project. Despite over 40 pubs closing every month due to inflation and the cost of living crisis in the UK, they have done more than just keep their pub alive. They've built an entire community-driven school, football club, and brewery. This is their story.
Describe to me a typical day. What time would the kids turn up, and what form would their day take?
So they arrive a little bit later. Teenagers, it's been sort of proven that teenagers don't sleep enough, and they like to sleep late. I left this morning, my 15-year-old was still in bed. It's 11 o'clock. Given the chance, that's what they'll do. So we actually start at 9:30, whereas it's about an hour later than most schools, and our first lesson's at 10. That period between 9:30 and 10, they'll arrive at the gate, and you just check in. You're just checking in. They'll come and sit in the pub. There'll be some cards going on. There'll be a bit of, Uno or whatever. There'll be staff dotted all around the place. They can have a cup of tea or, a bite to eat because we might not have had any breakfast, and you're just connecting. And then at 10 o'clock, you start briefing. It's the beginning of the day. This is what the day holds. You'll spark a bit of curiosity here, there, and whatever. Like, we have different themes to each day. And then they start going to their lessons. But the lessons, certainly here, what we found, particularly here in the college, we've taken away all qualifications. So we've tried A-levels, we've tried baccalaureate, we've tried all sorts of different things. We do English and Maths GCSE because you still need that really as a ticket to get to the, we're still working in that system, and that system won't necessarily change overnight. So we'll do that, but outside of that, there's different sort of projects, and some of them are cerebral, some of them are community focused, some of them are physical, some of them are technical. We have a workshop in one of the stables, we have gaming PCs, we have so we give them the tools.
And are the kids working in a single group, or are they working, how's it working?
They can work in groups or on their own on projects. So there's we try and promote a bit of entrepreneurship. We've got a shop here as well, so we've got crafting going on. They might have Etsy channels and that sort of stuff. That might be something on their own, or they might be working on a much broader event or something that they're trying to. We have a festival in the summer. We have a winter fair here every Christmas that the pupils, the students, create. So it sort of depends on the project and on what their need is. And we basically, within those projects, we then measure their success through something we call ROCKET, which is resilience, organisation, community, communication, initiative and teamwork, and our values of kindness, curiosity and change. And we give them citations on, you showed particular initiative in this. I'll tell you when you showed it and how you showed it. Write it down. Here's a picture of it. Here's a video. It goes onto their digital online portfolio, which becomes their kind of CV. And you give it to them. And they go, oh. So when somebody does say, tell me a time you've shown initiative, we give them a QR code actually at the end. So, show them a link to that.
So where did you get the ideas from? Because it sounds incredibly innovative. Did somebody tell you how to do it, or how has this taken shape?
I've got an amazing team of people that work at the Green Room, and the staff are perhaps, initially they've come from drama and theatre, so that's a very sort of creative world. There's quite a group of sort of rebels within us. And then we've plucked people who've fallen out of or not fallen out, they've rejected mainstream education because they've just sort of gone, this isn't working. So they're coming with their own ideas as well. And look, in England they say we're 21st century kids working with 20th century teachers in a 19th century system. That's not the same all over the world. Like if you look at the Nordic system, they're doing a lot of project-based learning and that sort of stuff, and the Helsinki principles and the transversal skills so there is stuff. So we do pull from various different areas, and we're doing it in a pub.
Somebody Ofsted don't mind.
We were worried about that, and eventually they came. And the guy, the Ofsted inspector, was like we were stood exactly in this scenario here, and he looked around, and it's just like, this is brilliant what you're doing here. He said, but how do I get this into that? And that being the sort of the Ofsted framework. He was very supportive of it,
How did he rate you?
We got outstanding,
Wow.
yeah, which at the time when they gave outstanding. So, and that was only, we've had that twice, 2018 and 2023. And I'm supportive of the fact they've taken that one-word judgment away now.
Do you think the scope, I mean, obviously this is an exceptional project, both parts, we can come back to the pub. Do you think the scope for applying the principles or the model elsewhere?
Certainly, yeah. We know that the problems in our education system are vast, actually, now. And the new government knows that. They know, and actually there's a lot of talk around SEND, so special educational needs and disabilities, which is a really sort of growing area within young people of today. And the mainstream schools are being asked to sort of be more inclusive. This is part of the new Ofsted framework. Schools are going to be measured on their inclusion. And in order to do that, the system actually does need to change. We need to understand neurodiversity better. In order to do that, we need to personalise curriculums. It's been sort of proven, a study came out last week saying that people with autistic traits are actually more capable of being more curious if they're given their own sort of personal path of challenge. They are more curious and more persistent than perhaps a more neurotypical sort of person. So the schools need to work like that.
I gave you a comprehensive with 1,000 kids. How would you apply your learning if that was the job? I said, Richard, what would you do with it? How do you think you would approach, based on your learning, that kind of job?
There's a lot of areas to that. With the curriculum, I'd stop GCSEs as a starter. And other schools are doing that. Like there's a lot of schools, and we've just actually signed up to the self-directed, school-directed consortium, which is schools who are rejecting that and starting their own school-directed courses. So our course here could be in pub management, or it could be in we could do courses here that are specific to this place, that is project-based, kids buy into it, there's an outcome on it, but we are quite unique here. We're in a place like this, but I think schools need to connect with their communities better. At the moment, we've got 8-foot fences around all the schools with keypad entries and some with barbed wire on the top, whatever. They're places we've got so obsessed with safety that we're not taking any risks at all whatsoever. If a kid leaves the site, most of the kids that we have run away from school at some point because they don't feel safe within those fences. We need to start taking down the barriers between schools and community, and start linking up with wonderful places. There's lots of incredible things that are going on in communities, but also with businesses. Businesses are looking at education going, what are you sending us? Great, they've got 9 A stars, but they don't know how to have a conversation or butter a piece of toast. So
what you're describing, and also what Richard described, was Will. Sorry, I should get the names right. Terrible
Richard
names.
Will, yeah,
Richard Will is almost a mushrooming of community from a community hub. So you describe all the different clubs that have developed from your community effort. But what you're describing is moving from education to business, because what's holding you back, as far as I can see, is that businesses still want 5 GCSEs or a degree, which we all know in many cases is not necessary and is not actually what helps them in the workplace. So, but if one could start to take your ideas and then almost create a hub of businesses that recognise the form of education, the skills that you are giving the children, you can then start to see naturally evolving a new form of society built around individuals. Does that sound far-fetched, or does that sound realistic?
Well, I mean, I think it sounds realistic because the businesses are looking for this. They're reaching out and going, look, I mean, if you ask them, I mean, they're busy people, but if you do ask them, you know, as far as their recruitment, what is it you're looking for? They're not really looking for three A levels and a degree. They're looking for people who can communicate and innovate and create, and like that. That is where our industry is going. And you know, and we've got artificial intelligence and all sort. Everything is changing. So that human touch at the beginning, if you can give businesses these kinds of people who've done this in their educational landscape, then it will improve the sort of.
I mean, I agree that. I mean, as businesses, we don't want to recruit GCSEs. Well, we want to recruit good people, but it's simply that the system is such that GCSEs is your best evidence available of at least training, which gives some evidence of skills, isn't it? You know. Now, if there's different evidence available through what different apprenticeship providers or education providers are doing, then we'll use that as evidence to recruit the right people for that, for the future.
Yeah, what you're describing is almost a transactional system where it's all about scoring points, and therefore there's no better way of selecting people in the workplace other than do they get 9s, whatever it is, at GCSEs and I think what you're saying, and it makes complete sense to me, that's totally irrelevant in terms of who's actually going to contribute to the business I'm trying to develop. It's the skills, the life skills that you're talking about, which is, can you relate to people? Can you understand what people need? Can you work with people? And the transactional approach of you're in school to get information that is literally transferred from the sage on the stage to the pupils without any relationship building. I think what you're describing is it's a thing of the past. It's not at the moment because we're in this transition phase where you're the exception. I think there are not that many schools. Then you may tell me, there are other schools that you are aware that are moving in the same direction, or are you an outlier, would you say, in terms of what's going on?
I mean, I would put us in the alternative bracket, but we're probably in the minority. I don't think we're alone though, and I think actually within the independent sector there is more emphasis on this, and there always has been really on the sort of building of character and these kind of things, and the academic side was sort of taken for granted, and actually the rest of it, if you're in a boarding school and you're there every Saturday, you're doing things that are building these kind of attributes. And that has been the domain of the very few and who have gone on to succeed in those sort of areas. That sort of level of education should be democratised and brought out to more people.
I'd love obviously the school is closed today because it's half term, but I'd love the opportunity to actually share with people what you're doing. Because I think if people see, I haven't met any of your children, but I can see the warmth of the discussion. And also I met with the branch manager, the
general manager.
The general manager. And he, again, also the passion. I think
it shows that, doesn't it?
He does show. I think this needs to be seen, because I think if people can see what you can do with people who are left behind. I mean, we've got whole communities, we've got cities left behind. We've got a left behind problem. The whole UK has been left behind. Jobs have not been provided. They've gone to China. People can't get homes, but you are not leaving people behind. You are engaging with people. And I think if you're interested, it's certainly worth exploring the possibility of getting what I think is a very important attitude, so that people potentially see that there is another way, and people that need to understand that there are alternatives, and what you've done is let go and given space to your teachers and I think to your pupils. Yeah. And tell me about the outcomes of how many children have actually gone through the system, and how and what impact do you think it's had on their lives?
Well, that's interesting. So now I'm doing some work with alumni. So I've sort of I've come out of the classroom, if you like. I've come out of the schools to a degree, and I'm looking purely at that because I don't know is the answer. So I'm reaching out at the moment to look at. We now have 26-year-old adults with their own kids who are now. I mean, I'm going on Monday to a Team Around the Child meeting for one of our ex-pupils about his children, because and I'm just seeing history repeating itself, saying, well, his kid is going to end up in a place like ours because that school won't be able to do what his school wasn't able to do for him. The system hasn't learnt or changed, and so I'm also going into the local schools and saying to the head teachers there. I mean, we're starting a project next week. So what are you really struggling with at the moment? And they've just given us a list of kids, and all we're going to do is take them out of school for an afternoon every Friday and give them some space, eat, walk, play games, converse, connect, and work out what it is that is stopping them from progressing.
That sounds almost like plaster, sticking plaster on the problem. I think what you could do is help them with the disease, with the problem, because all you're doing is a sticky plaster. So the system isn't working. I think we accept the system is working, and therefore you pick the kids, and can we, in however long, give them a drama class. But I think where you would make an immense difference is actually consulting with the parents. Are the parents, by the way, involved in the way you operate?
That's exactly what. So yeah, I mean, it's using the kids and the parents and the teachers and using them as they're the experts in that situation. But there's no time in the system for them to actually address this. So coming in as basically a sort of facilitator for understanding the problem, and then going back to each group and saying, well, this is what we've seen from this. There's such small things you can change in an education, in a school, that will make such a big difference. And that they're not things that we put in much emphasis on. But the big problem in schools is their lack of flexibility and lack of adaptability. And it's a sort of a vision that we've got to achieve these outcomes to get to be on this league table or whatever, and we need to do it in this way because we've got, the spectre of an inspectorate that's going to come and look at us and make sure that we are doing it in this way, and we're now part of a big trust, and that trust is telling us to do it this way, and everything is being narrowed into a channel. And I think all I would do when talking to a leader is say, look, you give them permission to do something different.